4比3，飞龙在天。
哎，算了，恭喜他夺冠吧。
一把，我靠！
打不过啊，他最后这手感染虫太凶了。最近半年 ZVP 56-3给自己点一个赞，冠军。
I don't think Cyril has any chance to save this one, but he continues.
He gets killed coming back, and Bunny just doesn't seem to have the numbers.
Didn't even notice the Liberator in the main base, I think. So many probes are going down right now.
Oh my god, they're trying to get back, but they can't, and so many are picked up. A big clump here from Cure. He tries to split everything up.
결승가는 열립니까?
Giant force of Phalanx rolling in and clearing the hell. That's massive. Clump!
Mario is once again.
Raider has done it.
Cyril did it all, and he is a well-deserving champion.
And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Masters Coliseum 8, Day 1, Group A. We just wrapped up with Cyril versus Cure, and Cyril having a dominant performance over Cure. Honestly, I don't think there was ever really a time where he was ever in any real danger there. Was looking very comfortable, very dominant there over Cure. Very well done, very strong performance there by Cyril. But now we have two other players. It's a group of 4, and I know there's a lot of eyes on Cyril. What about SHIN? What about Astrea? As they are going to be facing off here in a best of 3. You can see here some of the recent scores between the two of them. We see it going quite back and forth, actually. SHIN taking down Astrea 2-0. Astrea getting the revenge here, 2-1 over SHIN. Back and forth. So I'm expecting more of a back and forth here. I would love to see an ace match. Regardless of how this goes, I would love to see a game 3 here. I do think it's going to be quite close between the two of them. Bearing in mind as well, for those of you that have not been tuning in recently, you would know that Astrea has been on fire. Astrea recently has been taking down some bigger names, taking down Bjorn regularly, SHIN, Trap, alongside even some of the European protoss like Showtime and even Max Packs. Astrea, his results over the past, I want to say 2 months, basically ever since EWC, some players went on vacation, Astrea did not. Astrea has been on that grind. He's been playing in so many online open cups, and he's been looking very strong, looking very good, and I'm excited to see him here tonight as well. Here we go. Whew. Likewise, SHIN is a similar story. There's a lot to get into here. As Astrea has been on the rise, so has SHIN. For a very long time when it comes to online Korean Zerg representation, the go-to was Dark. Dark would play in everything, would play in every online event, win most things as well when it comes to ESL Open Cup Asia, ESL Open Cup Americas, KSLs, and other online events. But in the off-season of EPT, Dark took a break. After EWC Dark, he took a vacation, took some time off. Dark has been less active. More recently, over the past couple of weeks, he's been more active. But post EWC, he did take a step back, and SHIN rose in his place. SHIN has been very active, has been on that grind, and is the most active Korean Zerg player now in these online open tournaments. And as a result, we haven't had the luxury of seeing a lot of SHIN as of late. SHIN is an animal. He's similar to Dark in the sense that both players are very aggressive and very quirky, but what I will say is that the similarities kind of end there, because both players have their own styles and have their own builds. They have their own builds that they rely upon. Dark, he's more roach heavy, he's more greedy early on, especially against Terran players. Against Protoss, Dark very often is very early and mid-game focused. Very rarely does he go for a standard macro game. SHIN more so. SHIN, he more so does embrace something more standard. He can go for something crazy like Muta play, for example, or Swarm host play, that is true, but more often than not, SHIN is willing to embrace a more back and forth mid game here with his opponent. Dark less so. Like Dark, he's more of an animal. So I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm excited for that back and forth. Whew. Let's see what our players have here before us. Also, shout out to Astrea. I know that right now is not the best time in the Americas. I know it's quite early in the morning, so hopefully Astrea was able to get enough rest, was able to get enough time here to prepare for his match. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Here we go. Just catching up. My American representation. True. I mean, again, Astrea, he did qualify by beating a bunch of Europeans. He was able to bring down a plethora of European players here to make it to the main event. So again, was not an easy road, was not an easy qualifier for Astrea whatsoever. Did well for himself. did well for himself. I mean, again, you know, Astrea was able to succeed where players like Showtime, players like Mana, players like Alaser, players like Lambo, players like Big Gabe were not. So it was not an easy road to get here for Astrea, but he made it. Did make it. As we are setting up for a match. Almost 8 a.m. East Coast, which means almost 5 a.m. West Coast. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I know it's very early. I'm hoping that Astrea woke up. I'm hoping that Astrea did not pull off like an all-nighter and like stay up all night to compete in this tournament. It is possible though, so I hope that isn't the case for Astrea. Hopefully not. Hope he's well rested. I'm sure we'll find out once we see him. If we see him like yawning and with like some dark circles under his eyes, and that will paint a picture for us, but we'll find out once we see him. We'll find out. When it comes to the setup here, again, as a reminder, players, they do have to set up their cameras. They have to make sure that they're synced up with the production, make sure they're good to go. You know, put on some clothes, look pretty for the camera before jumping in. So there's a little bit of setup required, for sure. Here's some setup required. Otherwise, who do I favor in this series? It's hard to call, Papi. It is gonna be a hard one to call. Like, again, as I mentioned before, like, I'm a big fan of both Astrea and SHIN. In a perfect world, I would have them both make it through. I would have them both make it through the qualifier. But you know, that's like what my heart says. You know, my head says something different. My head says Serral, and if I remember correctly, I think I said Serral and SHIN when I went for my predictions. And if I remember correctly, I think Yaku went Serral and Astrea. And I was like, yeah, like I could see that happening as well. Oh, as we have our players. Oh my god. So we have our players here. We have our SHIN, we have our Astrea, we have our Vetoes as well. Game 1 is going to be on Ultra Love, Game 2 on Amygdala, and Game 3 on Abyssal Reef. Whew. Let's go. Our Vetoes are in as well. See SHIN vetoing King's Cove, Neo Violet Square, and Ley Lines. Two of the larger maps in the map pool in King's Cove and Neo Violet Square, and a more defendable map in Ley Lines. Interesting. Again, Astrea, he is known for his late game. Like, his late game PvZ is some of the best in the world, to be honest. Oh, there's some coffee. Astrea looking well rested. But Astrea, he has some of the best late game PvZ out there. So for SHIN to get rid of some of those larger maps does make sense. Some of the more defendable maps as well. Likewise, we had Astrea getting rid of some of the smaller maps, and here we go. We're getting into game number 1. And in the bottom left-hand corner, we have SHIN for Gaming Gladiators. And in the top right, we have his opponent. We have Astrea, the American Protoss. Let's go. Let us go. And you know what time it is. If you're in the chat, it's Gamba time, papi. Predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you believe will claim the series. Best of luck in the chat. As a reminder, this is a best of 3, not a best of 5. So best of luck. Whew. As we calm things down and embrace our series. Now we do have our Hatch Gas Pool here by SHIN. Assuming it's going to be a Hatch Gas Pool. Likewise, Astrea going for his own gate expand as well, as to do embrace our ZVP. For those that are curious, Ultra Love does have a much more defendable 2, 3, and 4 base setup. We have seen some split map scenarios on Ultra Love as a result, but to counteract how defendable these bases are, the rush distance by ground is quite short. So that's how the balance is, you know, coming into play here in Ultra Love. Defendable bases, but short rush distance by ground, which means if a player did commit to an all-in, reinforcements do arrive that much faster, and it's not so cut and dry when it comes to whether a player can survive that or not. We have seen Solar, for example, break Astrea here on Ultra Love in the past with 3 base all-ins. I'm curious if SHIN will do something similar here. Our eyes, or my eyes at least, going to be on SHIN. Astrea likewise is known for some quirky builds at times, does come up with his own builds, is a very versatile player himself, so we might not see the most standard of games, or the most standard of series. But I don't expect it. We'll see. We shall see. Astrea straight up asleep? Oh no. Just so you know, you're on the big screen with some of my work friends. Don't say anything crazy like you normally do. What do you mean? What do you mean? I never say anything crazy. What are you talking about? Ay, ay, ay. You're an animal, Pap. You're an animal. For now, though, we're calming things down. We do have our tech of choice. Going to be a Stargate opener out of Astrea. So everything's looking normal for the time being. Is going for the Stargate. This should lead into Oracle play. This should lead into a third expansion. We'll keep an eye on Astrea to see if he does go for the Oracle or for a Void Ray instead for something a little bit more dynamic. Likewise, Shin opening up back at home. Hatch gas pull into a third. Link speed is on the way. Shin, he pulls out of gas. And Shin, he's just playing likewise as safe as possible as well. Saturating his bases, keeping up with the Adept. No major signs of aggression, no early gases, no early tech. Everything looking normal. So we're calming things down. Likewise, across the map, we have the first unit of choice. It is going to be that Oracle from Astrea, as we did mention. So Oracle is designed to get across the map, to scout, to harass, to keep eyes on the bases, on the saturation, and also to defend against any Ling aggression as well, and to allow Astrea to gain map control and to expand back at home. So with this Oracle opener, Astrea, he should be safe to take a third base, take an expansion, get a greater economy, and head into the mid game. So we can sink our teeth into this ZVP. There's that third base now being taken for Astrea, as we did mention. There's no major signs of aggression from Shin. He has not made extra Lings. He's moving out with his Lings, that is true, but as we mentioned, that's what the Oracle's for. The Oracle does spot the Lings, it responds, and it will deflect the Lings and keep that third base safe and sound. At least it should. There we go. Lings, they poke in, and they can threaten the army, they can threaten the Adept, but not much more than that. Astrea holds, Astrea expands. Ooh, behind this, Astrea going for an earlier Twilight Council. Okay, very early Twilight Council from Astrea. Now, this could be one of two things. This could either be Glaive Adepts to be aggressive, or it could be Fast Blink to be a little bit more defensive instead. The way that this works here, if Blink is going to be researched and prioritized, then it will finish up in time for a 3-base all-in. So if Shin were to be aggressive on 3 bases, then Astrea would be safe. Otherwise, it could be the reverse here. We could see Glaives, and then Astrea could be the aggressor instead. And there it is. Blink is on the way. So we have confirmation it's going to be Blink here from Astrea. Oracle dips in, gets 3 drone kills, takes a lot of hull damage, but will escape. Will get away. 3 drones are not bad. Astrea does retain his army, does retain his forces, pulls back home. And again, Astrea just playing as safely as possible here. Sure, Lings, they can harass, they can get a surround. Oh my god, they barely don't. Whew. They don't quite get the full surround. Oracles, they respond, they race back home. The Adept may go down. That is a nice pickup, but nothing major. So Astrea, he's still safe back at home. Blink is on the way. As a reminder, there is a bit of a give and take here with the opener of Astrea. On the one hand, because of early Blink, one, he has that in time for an all-in. He can also apply some pressure across the map. He can definitely move out and try to threaten that third. The downside is the upgrade. The Forge, I mean. The Forge just finished, and +1 is now on the way. Typically, you want these 2 upgrades lined up with Blink and +1 to hit a stronger timing, but because of the earlier Twilight Council, +1 is delayed for Astrea. So his upgrade's going to be far later. That will impede him as the game progresses and his upgrades kick in. But now, though, Astrea, nice stasis goes off. Threatens the Queens. No transfuse. Yeah, not enough energy for a transfuse. Lings, they come in for a surround. So far, Astrea, he does kite well. Blink is not yet done, but he doesn't get surrounded, doesn't lose the Stalker. Nice kiting here by Astrea. Is pushing in. You can see Shin setting up for the surround, but the Oracles, they come in from behind, they shut down the Lings. Yeah, the Lings get shredded. Stalkers, they keep moving forward. The Queens are exposed. Shin trying to engage. Blink is now done. And with that, Astrea, he does blink away to safety, has a backup stasis trap behind this to catch any surround. He wants those Queens. They're so low. They're so low. They're so exposed. 1 transfuse goes off. Astrea, he's tempted to dive. Lings, they come in for a round. Stasis goes off. It does catch the Lings. Nicely done here by Astrea. And fun fact, I haven't checked the units lost at myself, but I believe Astrea has not lost a single Stalker. He hasn't lost a single Stalker. He might lose one. One of them's quite low. Oh, does blink away. Nice control here from Astrea. Not losing anything. Trading so efficiently here with his army. Shaving off even more Lings. Nice stasis. Oh, nice bait on the stasis trap. Doesn't get triggered on only 3 Lings, so a bit of a waste there for Astrea. Pushing forward throughout all this, Roach Hydra has been amassing for Shin. He's trying to get into a greater army, a greater tech army. Ling run by back at home does force reinforcements here from Astrea. Does force him back. Still poking in, shaving off more Lings. And Shin's in trouble. Shin's in a bit of trouble here. That Stalker count is getting very high. And now he's picking off Roaches. These are more expensive units here that SHIN is going to be losing. Yes, be careful. Okay, Lings are expendable, Roaches and Hydras less so. So there we go. We have 3, 4, 5 Roaches going down. 5, 6, oh my god, 6 Roaches. 6 Roaches fall. Once again, SHIN going for another Ling run by. Astrea out of position. Oh, he's not at home to defend, and he's forced to recall. Whew. That is going to be worth it for SHIN. He won't kill the expansion, but he forces Astrea all the way back home, and this does give SHIN breathing room. It lets him breathe, lets him calm things down, building up more Roaches, building up more Hydras, but again, there's still a lot of pressure on SHIN, and Astrea, he moves out once again. Now, with this move out from Astrea, bearing in mind, Recall is now on cooldown. He just used Recall, so there's going to be a window, there's going to be a period in time where he won't have that available. SHIN can try to abuse that. Ooh, his supply block though. Aye, aye, aye. SHIN gets supply blocked. There's nothing run by, but the stasis trap goes off. Stasis goes off. Astrea, he holds back at home with the bare minimum. Trying to poke in. Doesn't have many stalkers here though. Astrea, he can't quite achieve too much. He has to calm down. Yeah, he has the other half of his army back at home. Trying to catch out those Lings. Stasis goes off. Very nice catch on the Roach Hydra. Astrea, he shaves off those Lings. Behind this, taking up even further. For the time being, Astrea has been stuck on a gateway heavy composition, but now he's skipping tech and rushing towards Sky Toss. That's a fleet beacon and a Stargate on the way, plus 1 air attack as well. Storm is almost done for Astrea, but he's gearing up and getting ready for a later game state for Sky Toss, for Tempest, and Carriers. So Astrea's taking up, still just keeping SHIN pinned. Remember, Storm is almost done, but for the time being, the High Templar are a little bit vulnerable. Speaking of, oh, one High Templar's gonna go down. Storm is done. Storm goes off. Massive Storm on the Hydras. Oh my god, but SHIN is getting in for the surround. He's coming in from behind. Gets this round on the High Templar. High Templar go down. Immortals as well. Massive pickups. And Astrea, he's overextended. Did overextend. Loses so many high-tech units. Has to back off. At the same time, though, Astrea, he does counterattack. Hits the 3rd base. Hits the 4th even. Massive Storm on the Roaches. Looks like the 4th base is gonna fall. Zelce busts in towards the natural. Chaos everywhere. Essentially trading bases. SHIN, he will lose the 4th, but he's going for the 3rd base of Astrea. Does get on top of the Robo. Robo goes down. The Nexus as well. Likewise, Astrea pushing in towards the natural. Ooh, and SHIN, he's losing that much more. SHIN, he might take down a base, but he lost 2 back at home. Lost 2 expansions. Astrea pushing in. Behind this, you can see Astrea just getting ready here for an attack, for an assault at the 3rd base. Stasis traps, cannons, shield batteries. SHIN, he's forced all the way back home, but he lost 2 expansions and 19 drones. 20 even. 20 workers going down. Brutal losses here for SHIN. Astrea, he just recalls back home, gets the hell out of the main. And Astrea is not looking too bad. See him double expanding. Now SHIN, he's all in. At this point, SHIN, he's lost far too much. He has to commit. He's down to 39 workers. It's all or nothing for the Zerg player. And this is it. How many storms? Stasis goes off. Ooh, only on 1 Ling. SHIN does trigger it ahead of time. You can see Astrea, he's triple expanding. Now is not the time. like the Zerg player's all in, but we need to defend. We need warp-ins. One of the expansions gets cancelled, the other as well. These are some nice pickups here by SHIN, but he needs more than that. Denying expansions is good, but the longer this goes on, the better it is for Astrea. As he takes down the Queen, busting into the mineral line, more drones going down. I mean, SHIN, he barely has an economy to begin with. Now even less so. Losing what little he has left. Meanwhile, you can see the field of stasis traps. Oh my god. SHIN, he takes the stasis to the face. Aye, aye, aye. He's getting caught out. And GG gets called. Astrea, he will defend, he will survive, he will take game number 1. Whew. GG. Oh my god. He's awake, Pappy. He's awake. Let's go. GG, well played. Astrea popping off there on cams. Relief, definitely, hitting his face. And he does take a lead here in the series. And now the pressure is on SHIN. Again, Astrea just applying so much pressure himself in that first game, just always in SHIN's face, and more importantly, very nice control, very meticulous micro out of Astrea, retaining those stalkers. Remember, when he was pushing him, he was trading with the Lings, with the Roaches of SHIN outside of the expansion, when he was trading with the Queens as well, he did not lose a single stalker. He was so efficient with his army control, was so again, dedicated with that control as well. We saw some attempted run-bys out of SHIN, but it would often be deflected by stasis traps or oracles or recalls. The Ling run-bys just didn't really achieve too much. At times, it would buy a couple of seconds, but really that's all they did. They just bought a couple of seconds, and yeah, just SHIN could not really alleviate that pressure from Astrea. He tried, but he did fail. And with that, Astrea does take the first game. And now we're getting into game number 2. Going to be loading into Amygdala. Now, Amygdala is a much larger map, has a longer rush distance by ground, so because of that, we could see a more drawn-out game state. Likewise, more importantly, it is much more difficult to apply pressure to the 3rd and to the 4th base here on Amygdala. Just because of the terrain itself does make it awkward trying to rotate towards the north and southern bases. Because of that, you could argue it is easier to defend. It is easier to defend, easier to hold on, and easier to get into that kind of mid-game state in a better position. So we'll see how Astrea deals and handles the map itself. I mean, if you remember, we saw that between Cyril and Cure, where Cyril and Cure, they both maxed out. They were both on 5 base economies, and leading up to that, Cyril was just unable to really apply any pressure to Cure. It wasn't until afterwards when players were taking their 6th bases, where Cyril popped off, where he was able to get better engagements in the center of the map and finally knock down bases. Similar kind of state here, where it can be more difficult to be aggressive early on, but we'll see. We shall see. So getting ready for that second game. Again, personally, I'm hoping for an ace match. I'm hoping for a game 3. Regardless of how this goes, I would love this to be back and forth. But it's all on SHIN. Just catching up in the chat. I see someone asking in the chat, are those Dragon Balls? Yes, yes. Those are Dragon Balls. They're blurred out, so, you know, they don't get sued. Kappa. But we did actually confirm yesterday with the organizers of the tournaments. I was curious because they've shown Dragon Balls in promotional material before from Master Coliseum 7. And I was like, yo, what's the story behind the Dragon Balls? And apparently the term Masters Coliseum, the name of the tournament, Master Coliseum, that is the direct translation of the Chinese phrase for the Tenkaichi Budokai in Dragon Ball, which is the World Tournament. So the name of this tournament is a direct reference to the tournament in Dragon Ball. So the more you know. We weren't actually aware of that until yesterday, where I directly asked. It's like, oh, cool. So yeah, that's why there are Dragon Balls floating around. It is just a nice reference to the anime, to the tournament, to the Tenkaichi Budokai. They're unspecified Star Balls. Exactly. They're ball dragons, not Dragon Balls. True. But yeah, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball, then you'd be familiar with the World Tournament. In Chinese, called Master Coliseum. Clem is little Goku. Yo, who's Jackie Chun? That's the real question. Who's Jackie? Oh no. Is it Cyril? Is it? Ay. I feel like I'm in the anime. Who's Krillin? Ay. Maybe Dark is not in the tournament. As a reminder, Dark is not in the tournament. Dark is Perfect Cell, Maru's Freeze. These are people that did not compete in the tournaments. What are you talking about? This is not lore accurate. What are you saying? They did not play in the Tenkaichi Budokai. Oh, but it looks like we're getting into game number 2. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Amygdala, we have the South Korean Zerg player. We have SHIN for Gaiming Gladiators. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have Astrea, the American Protoss. Let's go, leading the series 1-0. One more game is all Astrea needs to claim the series. And we'll see if he can take it 2-0. We'll see if SHIN can force the ace match. The pressure is on as we dive into Amygdala. Let's go. Let us go. Again, this is the second time we're spawning in on this map. Just to reiterate once again, the rush distance by ground is longer than that on ley lines, and Ultra Love and Whispers of Gold is a longer rush distance by ground here. And again, as you mentioned, the biggest feature of this map is The layout itself, the rocks. There are just so many rocks in the center of the map. It does avoid or it does deter any kind of big rotations or even small rotations from northern and southern expansions, at least until the mid game. So because of that, the bases are a little bit easier to defend. They are more secure. It leads into longer game states. That is why that kind of led into what we saw previously between Kira and Serral. But what I will emphasize though, especially when Protoss players get involved, if Astrea were, for example, to go for a 3-base all-in, if he were to go for an 8-gate, for example, the rush distance by ground doesn't really matter as much because he can throw down a proxy pylon and just reinforce in the face of SHIN. So you do have options to be aggressive. There are options available. Ooh. Speaking of being aggressive, Astrea opening up 2-gate. Not something you see too often. Let's go. So it's going to be a 2-gate opener from Astrea. What does this mean? This means, one, the Cybercore is going to be a little bit later, but it means that Astrea can morph in at 2 adepts at a time. So we should be seeing double adept harass into quadruple adept harass. So basically earlier aggression, earlier harassment from Astrea here in game 2. We'll see what he can accomplish, as you often do not commit to a second gateway this early on. So much more aggressive start here by Astrea. Meanwhile, SHIN back at home just going hatch gas pool. Standard opener, hatch gas pool. He's going to be pulling out a gas, getting to a 3rd base, and the Overlord does confirm. So SHIN, he sees the setup, he sees the second gateway, he knows he's going to be in danger. You can see, yep, there we go, 2 adepts being chronoed as we speak, and this typically leads into a follow-up 3rd and 4th adept as well. Now, as a reminder, when it comes to some of the math here, 2 adepts, they can one-shot a drone. They can one-shot workers. So SHIN, he needs to be on point when it comes to pulling workers away, when it comes to rotations with his lings, with his queens. He needs to make sure he's on point. Meanwhile, we have confirmation. We do see that Astrea, he's not going for a 3rd and 4th adept. Lings, they do slip in. Oh, they slip into the natural. They get 1 probe kill already. Nice pick off here by SHIN. He gets 1. Can he get 2? Oh, he's trying. He wants it. Not quite. 1 probe is still good damage though. Lost mining time in the natural. And Astrea is just going for double adept into a stalker, into his tech, into his Stargate. Now again, he does force no reaction there by SHIN. But again, this makes sense. Basically, if Astrea had gone for extra adepts, then he would have delayed his tech. His tech would have been delayed, and we can see that Astrea does not want to delay his Stargate, does not want to delay that Oracle. Oracle is on the way at a more reasonable time. And the initial adept harass doesn't really achieve too much. Ooh, and Astrea even getting supply blocked as well. Did get supply block for a moment there. SHIN moves out with the lings, trying to hunt down those adepts. Getting eyes on the 3rd. Astrea is in position, and the Oracle does pop out. There's the NG overcharge. Hunting down the Overlord. The Oracle does respond to the lings. And so far so good. Astrea, he defends. Does defend. Now, all in all, I do want to give the edge to SHIN after the early game, just because the initial double adept opener didn't really leave too much, didn't really do much damage, didn't really achieve too much across the map either. We do see a much more standard follow-up this time. It is going to be Twilight Council into Forge. Remember, last game we saw an earlier Twilight Council with earlier Blink and delayed Forge and delayed upgrades. This time it's a much more standard opener, which means Astrea is not going to be as assertive, it's not going to be as aggressive as he was last game with his Blink Stalkers. So Astrea is going for a later, more standard timing with his Stalker aggression, but he's moving out earlier with those adepts. Remember, because of the double gateway opener, extra adepts. And earlier as well. So 4 adepts, they do move out. Head towards the natural. Oh, we do get a nice round though. Okay, they force activation of the Pulsar Beam. Wasted energy there for Astrea. And Lings, they collapse on the adepts. They take down 1, they take down 2. 2 adepts go down. Nice trades here from SHIN. He holds. He does hold, he does defend, and so far Astrea just hasn't been as successful. Did he just cancel Blink? Did that just happen? Or did he never begin it? Astrea not going into +1 and Blink, he's going +1 and charge. Let's go. It's going to be charge instead into a Temple Archives, into Archons. This is a much more aggressive move out here from Astrea. I should say much more aggressive, much more committed as well. So Astrea, it looks like he's going for an Archon +1 charge timing. Here we go. Now, if SHIN, if he skips his Roach Warren, he's going to be in trouble. I'll be honest, I do apologize. I didn't see if he threw down a Roach Warren. He does have +1 melee on the way. That usually means that SHIN is going into Hydras, into Lair, into Ling Hydra. And I'm concerned. If he did skip his roaches, then he might have a harder time defending against this. If he throws down a Baneling Nest, he can be okay. Ling Bane can deal decently well with the mass charge composition. But the pressure is on Shin to scout to confirm what's going on. Again, Ling Hydra is ideal against Stalker. Against Chargel Archon, that's where Roach Ling Bane really thrives. Hydra Den's on the way. I do believe that Shin did skip the Roach Warren. So that is a little bit concerning. He does get the Archons. Big moment. Does get the Archons. Now he's more aware of what's going on. Sees the Chargelets as well. He knows Storm is on the way. And back at home, defending with purely Ling Hydra, it's not going to be easy. Not impossible, but it's going to be quite difficult here for Shin. He's throwing down Spine Crawlers as we speak. The army has arrived, and Shin is getting caught with his pants down. 11 Hydras are on the way, but they're just now in production. It's only pure Ling to defend, and against Archons, Lings, they do nothing. Shin in a lot of trouble. Again, this scout was too late. Like, the realization here from Shin was just far too late. Expansion is going to go down. And can Astrea gain more value here? Spankle is on the way. More Warpins. 17 Hydras in production. They're just now popping out. Ooh, brutal force field. As Elsay dive into the mineral line. Archon's pushing in. One Hydra will go down. There is that Stasis Trap. Bear that in mind. And it looks like Shin should have enough. Yeah, he should have enough. Astrea needs to back off. Needs to back off from here. Now, from this moment, Shin has map control until Storm. Storm is done now. It took a couple of seconds there. Storm was not ready with the main army. Massive stasis going on for the Lings. Fourth base was denied. Shin, he's stuck on an even base count with the Protoss, which means that Shin is behind economically. And Astrea, he's gearing up and getting ready for his follow-up move out, this time with Storm. And as you can imagine, Ling Bane Hydra melts against Storm. This is where, right now, what Shin needs is Lurkers. More than anything, Lurkers are necessary, they're required. Without Lurkers, it's going to be a tough hold. It's going to be a very difficult position here for Shin. Speaking of Lurkers, there it is. Lurker Den is on the way. You can see it on the production tab. Likewise, Shin is also working towards... Shin is also working towards the infestation bit into Hydras. Sorry, into Hive, what I meant to say. So... Hive Tech, Hydra Lurker Viper is on the horizon, but Shin needs more time. He needs more time for those Lurkers. Until then, Astrea does have quite a bit of momentum going his way. He has a lot of potential with his army, I should say. Shin is trying to go for the gold. The rocks in the center of the map have expired. So Astrea can threaten that mineral line. For now, just staying back at home, taking a fourth base. Gearing up. Second robo is done. Astrea is making 2 immortals at a time. If you are unfamiliar with how these compositions work, Mass Immortal can shut down Lurker. So that is going to be Astrea's answer to the Lurkers, is investing into double immortal production. So it's building up that immortal count. 3, soon to be 5 immortals for Astrea. Does move out. There's not really much of a buffer here. He has Storm, but where are the Zealots? As Astrea, he does get on top of the army. Sorry, get on top of the base. The base itself, the force fields are brutal, and the expansion goes down. It's going to be another base falling, and a mineral line as well. 9 drones do fall. At least Shin has the gold. That is helping him recover. It's helping Shin maintain himself. Without the gold, he'd be dead. I'll be honest. It'd be rough. It'd be rough. But here come the Lurkers. 7 to 8 Lurkers here from Shin. 3 more Lurkers on the way, getting up to 10. The Lurker count is building up. Astrea getting behind the mineral line, going for the Storms. Lurkers are ready. Oh my god, Storms do pop up. And the High Templar, they survive. Just barely. A single High Templar goes down. Mining is denied at the gold. Zealot Rama catching Hydra reinforcements. Look at the immortal count. Oh my god, it's crazy. There's so many immortals. 6 immortals, mate. Ay, ay, ay. Prism into the main. Hydra's in position, at least somewhat in position, but the Hydras go down, going for a massive warp in. Will it finish? The Queen will focus it down. Another base falls, though. Thankfully, the Prism is cleaned up. But Astrea's pushing in, and the Lurkers are too far behind. Another expansion goes down, just knocking down base after base. We dive into the Lurkers. Lurkers are exposed. The Lurkers, they need supports, and there's just not enough. The Storms are brutal. Oh my god, massive storm on the Hydras. And Shin's being torn apart. He's just being completely torn apart here. The Lurker Den is denied. Upgrades are denied as well. SHIN just cannot keep up. No, not against this kind of army. I mean, it was a really rough start for SHIN to lose his 4th base when he did, when it came to the first move out of Storm of Chargers and Archons. If you remember, it just took too long. It just took too long for SHIN to realize what was happening. If you remember, by the time he scattered the composition of Astrea, he was already moving out. He was already across the map. So SHIN, he had no time to react and to get ready. The scouting was late, and now SHIN, he just cannot mine. He just cannot mine from any expansion. Storm's going to be going off. The Hydras, the Templar do get exposed though. Okay, looks like we have 1 Storm left. It does pop up. Hydras, they come in for a surround, but the Immortals, they hold their own. Yeah, the Immortals, they just clean up every single Hydra. Lings, they come in to reinforce, and the Lings should clean up the Immortals, but the damage has been done. There's a recall. Astrea, he escapes with 1, not even, oh my god. The recall gets wasted. Astrea, he overextends, losing everything. But fun fact, Astrea is still up in army supply. Astrea, he lost half his army, but that was only half. It's one of those things where it's like, mate, that was not even my final form. SHIN fighting for his life. Astrea only fighting with half his army. Ay, ay, ay. The other half is coming in. SHIN down to a 2-base economy. Again, SHIN, he has a high drone count, but he's barely mining. Ooh. Spine shot's going to be going up. SHIN is building up that lurker count. The lurker den has been rebuilt. We have adaptive talents on the way. SHIN, can he stabilize? It's possible. With a high enough lurker count, he can stabilize here. He just needs a little bit more time. I say that, Astrea's maxed. Astrea's maxed out. Fleet Beacon is done. Mothership's on the way. +1 air attack is almost done as well. Astrea still looking very comfortable. And the Immortals, yeah, they go to town on the lurkers. Storm goes up. That's going to be 1, 2, almost 3 lurkers going down. SHIN trying to catch any kind of value here, any kind of reinforcements, but he runs into Zealots. Ay, ay, ay. Zealots, they can have their way with Ling Hydra as long as they don't overextend. Oh, we can see SHIN coming in for the surround. It does collapse on the army. Nicely done. Is there another Storm? There is. Storm goes off on the Hydras. At the same time, oh, the lurker line gets broken. Astrea pushing in. Going for the mineral line. You can see SHIN trying to set up a surround himself. Collapsing on the army. Storm zones away. Oh, the Immortals go. Sorry, the lurkers go down. Yeah, it's going to be 3 lurkers falling. Another massive storm. And SHIN's just being torn apart. He's just being torn apart. The storms are brutal. And SHIN, he cannot keep up. Not anymore. GG gets called, and Astrea will take the 2-0. Oh my god. Calm down. He's popping off his chair. GG, well played. Whew. Astrea will take it, and SHIN starts off with a loss here in Massive Coliseum in Group A. Whew. GG. GG, well played. A very, very intense series, but for the most part, Astrea, he was in control. He was in control of both Game 1 and in Game 2. Again, Astrea, he was for the most part dictating the pace of the game, and SHIN had a really hard time keeping up with Astrea. Game 1, we saw Astrea flex his control, flex his micro. Fun fact, hold on. Do you see this? If we zoom in a little bit, there's a nice little like Super Saiyan aura around the winner. So Cyril won the first series, Astrea won the second series, and he has like an aura. Oh, they're going Super Saiyan, baby. Let's go. They're going Super Saiyan. When do they go Super Saiyan 3? When do they like turn into massive hedgehogs? When does that happen? Just wanted to point that out. It's a nice little detail here for the graphic. I appreciate it. They got that aura going. But yeah, so Game 1 was a little more dominant from Astrea, just flexing his micro, flexing his control, flexing his map awareness, and again, map movements. Here in Game 2, it came down to a more aggressive build from Astrea, and as we were pointing out at the time, SHIN, he did not realize what was happening until it was too late. SHIN was going Ling Hydra, no Baliness, no Roaches, so he was vulnerable to a charge or Archon timing, and when it arrived, SHIN couldn't stop it. SHIN, he could not stop the army, could not stop specifically that composition. We spoke about it, but typically, ideally against that, you want either Balings or Roaches, one or the other. But again, SHIN didn't know. SHIN didn't know what was happening until it was too late. Then he lost his base, lost his expansion, he had some really rough trades, and Astrea gained momentum from there. He never quite let go of it. never let go of that momentum. So congratulations there from Astrea. Just a really dynamic and very aggressive series from Astrea that leads us into the final series of the night. Let's go. It's going to lead us here into the final match. We have one best of 3 remaining here. Up next after the break is going to be Cure versus Astrea in a TVP. See you guys after the break. Take this time, get some snacks, get some food, get some water, drain your disruptors, massage your marines, and hydrate all of your hydras. We're going to be back here with a Terran versus Protoss. See you soon.